Hey there, welcome to The Hot Slice, the weekly podcast brought to you by Pizza Today magazine. I'm your host, Jeremy White, editor-in-chief of Pizza Today, joined today by the one, the only, executive editor, Denise Greer. Hey, Denise, how's it going?
Hello, Jeremy. So, we have the same clothes on as last week,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why are you wearing the same clothing for a week?
Well, let me tell you why. It is because we're doing part 2 with Peter Reinhart.
Yep.
He gave us such great information on dough and bread baking and sourdough that we're continuing our conversation today. But before we talk a little bit about that, before we jump in, let's talk a little bit about, so we teased a little bit about our industry report. Make sure if you haven't gone and checked that out on pizzatoday.com that you do that because it's just got a wealth of information. Also, we are getting really close to another insanely busy day for pizzerias. You've got Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day all coming up, which are huge days for pizzerias. So make sure that you have your supplies in order. Make sure you're staffed properly, and make sure you get your team hyped up for it too, because they're getting. They're getting pretty burnt out. I mean, I talked about that a couple of weeks ago about the burnout this time of year. So make sure you're keeping those folks hyped up and happy, because it's a stressful time for a lot of folks.
It is, no doubt. December is an exceptionally busy month for pizzerias. You're probably reeling in a lot of gift card sales right now as well. January is going to take a little bit of a dip. You will have the New Year's Day holiday where a lot of pizza's ordered, but then after that, everyone starts getting their credit card statements from Christmas, and they tighten the spending a little bit in the month of January, and they're also kind of on the New Year's weight loss kick, let's say, where they've had too many Christmas cookies and fudge and all the Christmas goodies, and they've decided that they're going to eat a whole lot of salads at home for the month of January. So your break is definitely coming next month, no doubt. And also, I want to remind you, I wrote about it in my monthly commentary, but be sure to take care of yourself this holiday season as well, dear pizzeria owner and operator. This is a stressful time for you. You're running a business. You may have family pressures outside of your business. You're trying to enjoy the holidays. You're trying to balance your finances as well as run your business. And this can be while it is for many people truly the most wonderful time of the year, for some people it's also the most stressful time of the year. There's a lot of winter blues, holiday depression is a real thing. It's easy to get down during this time as well for some people. So if you are one of those people, be sure to take care of yourself and take care of your mental health this holiday season as well.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to dive back into our conversation with Peter Reinhart, and it's going to be just as amazing as part 1, and it goes even deeper into pizza. We hear a lot of things that you didn't hear in part 1, and we really ask him the questions like, you're going to find out what he predicts the big trends are going to be as far as pizza dough and pizza for 2024. We have him on the record. We have him on the record saying what he thinks it is.
It is. And I'm not going to spoil it and give it away here in the introduction, Denise, but I will tell you that what he brings up, we have been waiting for this thing to explode. It just hasn't quite yet. The average American on the street doesn't really know the style of pizza yet, but they will. I agree with Peter. I think it's coming, but you know what? I've thought it was coming for the last several years, so we'll see.
We'll see. All right, so here's Peter Reinhart.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
Okay, Jeremy,
No
go ahead
doubt.
and brag about your sourdough and
Oh.
ask
No,
your
no,
sour,
no.
ask your sourdough starter question. I know you have one. I know you have one.
So my starter is, I've maintained it for 9 years now. So I'm very proud of that.
Pre-pandemic.
Because
Yeah.
I can't keep a plant alive, but I've managed to keep two humans
Facts.
alive. I have two teenage boys. I've managed to keep them alive, and I've managed to keep a sourdough starter alive for 9 years. So no,
Beautiful.
I'm really excited about baking with sourdough.
Have you named them?
Like the what's that?
Have you named your starters?
Yes, her name is Ruth. She is named after my grandmother, my
There you go.
maternal grandmother that passed away about 10 years ago. So yes,
Once you name them, then it's like you are hooked for life.
she's part of the family, Peter. She is part of the family.
That's great. Well, that's awesome that you've been keeping it going. Have you noticed that anything that it's changed at all over the years, or was there a certain point where you kind of hit a peak and is maintained at that peak level?
I feel like it's currently pretty well maintained at the peak level. I initially started trying to bake breads with it when it was about 2 months old, and I was not having any success whatsoever. And I just kept experimenting and reading and learning and experimenting and asking sourdough Willie questions and experimenting some more. And over time, I look, I'm not ready to compete with you or any professional baker, but I'm doing some okay stuff in my home kitchen.
It was interesting how the pandemic caused a big surge in sourdough interest, and celebrities were all comparing their loaves of French bread or sourdough bread, and then remember when sourdough Willie was just coming on the scene. I was a judge at a Caputo Cup competition where he won his category, and nobody hardly knew who he was then.
I remember that.
All of a sudden he kind of like was fast tracked, and now he's giving keynotes and workshops and everything else. So he is definitely one of the faces, I think, of the sourdough trend. And on the other side of the spectrum, while he's not doing workshops and stuff so much, but who's been a poster boy for it, is Anthony Mangieri in New York. And a lot of people forget that he was doing sourdough pizza before anybody else was even thinking about it. And so so he's doing it on the West Coast and Anthony on the East Coast. And then there's always been people here and there, outliers, but now it's like everybody's getting into it. And Dan Richer has become the new poster boy. What he's doing at Raza, has legitimized it to the sense that people who were wondering, should I or shouldn't I, they see the accolades that some of these people are getting, and they go, I got to go there. I can't let this ship pass by without being on it.
I think all this interest in home baking and home pizza making, especially post-pandemic, I think it's actually helped pizzerias kick up their game a lot. Like, I see so much more creativity, exploration, R&D in dough development for the modest of pizzerias. Pizzerias that weren't used to doing a lot of process with their dough. They're now like looking at it and saying, all right, we can up it, we can do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other thing that you're seeing along the lines of that research is people experimenting with different kinds of wheat and also non-traditional grains to make pizzas, and sustainability has entered into the pizza community in a big way. So people are really trying to be good stewards, of the ingredients that they're using, by trying to find things that are good for the environment, finding sourcing ingredients that are good for the environment without losing flavor. Sometimes you try to make the right move ethically, but your product doesn't, it doesn't get improved, or it's not as good, even though you're paying more and trying, your best to be a good person. So finding that balance between sustainability and high quality is another, category, I think, of that will be a discussion topic for a while going forward.
I think about the digestibility doughs too. Like, I love like the Roman styles and the different ones that just have a higher digestibility, and I look at that and I'm like, well, how do they really differ from from other pizza doughs, and what makes them so much better on, the gut, maybe as it goes through?
Well, I think that's where that time factor comes in. The longer fermentation just automatically makes the dough more digestible, because the enzyme activity that's going on in that long fermentation is breaking down some of the barriers to digestion, breaks down the phytic acid, and it starts to break down the gluten structure to where it becomes more digestible, because gluten is a hard ingredient to digest. It's a strong protein, and so the longer fermentation makes it takes it closer to the breaking point to where your body can break it down and then utilize it. And then sourdough, the acidity of sourdough is another factor, and so, and of course with sourdough you already are extending fermentation just to get the dough ready, but the bacterial activity as well as the enzyme activity are working to kind of, again, pre-digest the ingredients so that they're not as hard on your body. So I think that we see, a lot of people responding to that. And it's hard to, I mean, there's research, I guess, that's done on it, but really the only way we can know at the general, populace level is to see how people are responding to it. How, the anecdotal evidence that we get from people who are saying, I can eat this person's pizza, but I can't eat that one. And when I look at and you find out that these persons they're either using, some places are using even sprouted grain in their dough, because that's also pre-digested. Yeah. Usually the difference is that's longer fermentation, either with a sourdough starter or not. Just even if you don't use sourdough, it's still a longer fermentation does make it more digestible. So that seems to be the common thread. And then being more digestible is something more that we feel, then we can, it's not like I don't get sick no matter what I eat, when it comes to pizza, but I do feel better when I eat this pizza versus that one. So that's what we got to go on.
We've come a long way. We really have, through trial and error, experimentation, pushing the envelope. It seems our knowledge continues to improve. And like you said, it's never perfect. There's always something to tinker with. And as you know, just to keep getting better and better and keep learning.
You've probably done this, I'm guessing, at the expo or at Pizza Today, of sort of like, as you look at each year, like if you were to go back at what would you call it? The analysis of each year's gatherings at the expo, of seeing, okay, what are the new things that emerged this year, and kind of create a chart of the new ideas and trends that emerge each year. And because I think, I've only been going to Expo for about 10 years now, and I know it's been around for more than 25 years now, right? It's like 26 or so. So, but I think that a lot of the informational side and the knowledge side has exponentially leaped in the last few years. So just in the time I've been going, I've seen, again, sheer numbers of attendees who have the knowledge, whereas in the past, most of the people who were coming needed the knowledge. They were there to get the knowledge, but they didn't quite have it. Now, not only, they not only are coming back with the knowledge, but now they're teaching classes and they're getting mentees and, proteges of their own and spinning off. It's wonderful to see that, and how it's grown in a really organic way, throughout the country.
Oh yeah.
No
I can remember sugars were being added to doughs when I first started. So that was over 10 years ago. A lot of people were adding sugars and malts to their dough,
honey,
which
beer.
you don't see a lot of that now. A lot of people are very purists in that you don't see a lot of sugars being put in dough. And so when they go back on our website and they see those dough formulas they're like, what? Why is there sugar? It's because that was the thing then. That was what they were doing.
It's similar to kind of an analogous to what happened in the wine industry and the beer making industry. Any fermentation product, cheese, all those categories are fermentation based. And, and this goes back a long time, but there was a time when most American wines were made by spiking the grape juice with sugar so they can make wine faster. So you had the Thunderbirds and, Ripples and all those cheap wines that worked for somebody who just wanted to get drunk on wine, but it wasn't particularly good wine. It was embarrassing wine, just like the bread the American bread, was essentially, I guess if you called the bread Wonder Bread, it was kind of like a slam. It was to say what, even though it was being sold as a healthier bread. But so basically our bread, our wine, and even our cheeses were not viewed internationally as particularly high quality. And mainly it's because of we were so focused on the industrialization and profitability factors that we were just trying to do it better and faster. Not better, but faster, thinking it was better to be fast. Then we found out that slower was better, and everything started changing. And then we, had the breakthroughs in the wine industry before bread, even when we started winning international wine competitions. Then our bread teams started winning gold medals at the bread Olympics, in Paris, which was a big shock to the French.
Oh yeah.
And then our pizza guys, have been going over to Italy and, winning the medals that always belong to the Italians, so
Big shock there too. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so
and then you have to always, every year you go, well, what's next? I mean, we've come this far. Is there still more? Where else can we go? I don't know. I always go with that same question in my mind is what am I going to see this year that's going to surprise me?
Yeah.
So what is your call right now? 2024. What's going to be the big thing with pizza dough in 2024? What is your prediction? I will say.
Well, I think the obvious one is just going to be more and more people making sourdough pizza for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're getting into it. And two, I still feel, and I think it's taking longer than I thought it would, but I still feel that the Roman style pizza has, is ready to, make a push and go and become a bigger mainstream product.
We keep waiting for that, don't we?
Well,
yeah, thinking, and because we know from having tasted it and how good it can be,
amazing,
that we expect it to just explode. But sometimes other factors are at work, and it's timing. Sometimes an idea its time hasn't come yet, and then when the time has come for it, it then tips over, and it seems like an overnight success when people have been working behind the scenes for 10 or 15 years to get it there.
We thought it was going to be before Detroit hit. We saw this upward movement of Roman, and then Detroit came in and just like smashed everything. And then after Detroit really kind of, look, Detroit is still rising, but after it started kind of slowing its peak, we were like, okay, well, now Roman's going to come back. But then the pandemic happened. And
game changer.
But you are still seeing people open up Rome. I mean, I follow a lot of pizzerias where I'm following grand openings, and there are a lot of Roman pizzerias, Roman style pizzerias opening up.
And I think we're also going to see in that same general category, we'll probably see a growth in the pizza category, where because the pizza people are producing a pre-baked, high quality dough so you don't have to have a dough production facility to be able to put out beautiful pizzas, which are kind of like the pizza romanas in the sense that a lot of times they're decorated after they come out of the oven, or and you don't have to necessarily have quote pizza making skills to be able to do it perfectly, but people do love the flavor of it, and it's a satisfying experience. So I think that that's another area that can help let's say raise the boat to alerting more people to this general category of a Roman style pizza. And the more people that get exposed to it and have one that blows their mind, then they're going to want to go back and get more.
All right, we've heard Peter's prediction, Denise. Now let's see what happens.
And I may have
the crystal ball.
I may have some new ideas after this year's expo, because I'm always looking to see them. That's where I do my trend spotting. Is there.
Right, same here.
And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I've seen recently that. Right now, those are the two and of course, I think also the perfecting in existing categories, whether it's the bar style, tavern style pizzas. I mean, a couple of years ago, I didn't see that coming, that it was going to be so big, because it's not my favorite style of pizza. But then I started having some really killer versions of it.
Good ones,
okay, now I see why they get so excited about it. And so that one is growing, and that's I don't think that's plateaued yet. And there was another one like that. What are some of the new categories in the judging area, in the competition because last year I thought there was a new category that I hadn't seen before. What we call, we call it the specialty category or something, but
yeah. So what I was most enamored with in Atlantic City, Peter, were the cheese slices.
Yeah.
That to me was the most fun because
that's right. That was a whole category.
And that's coming to Expo.
That was a whole category. And to me, that was a lot of fun because it doesn't get any more simple, any more basic, and yet the variation in flavor
and styles too. There are so many styles.
It's insane how
that's
you can
funny.
get the exact same ingredients to, let's say, 50 people and get truly 50 completely different products.
That's a really good point. When you think about it, it's kind of like, again, analogy of baguettes. I mean, there's a baguette's about the simplest bread there is, and yet they have these competitions and somebody emerges as the winner of the best baguette in Paris every year, and there's certain ones that break from the pack. And you could have the same thing, a competition on vanilla ice cream, and there's it doesn't get any simpler than vanilla ice cream, but yet there's so many different variations of levels of quality. And the same thing with the cheese slice. That's sort of like becomes, in the old days, we used to say, not in the old days, I mean, like a couple of years ago, we used to say, well, the baseline is the margarita pizza, but maybe the baseline really is a cheese slice. Maybe that's the real baseline for the craft, for somebody who's really can take the simplest of all things and actually emerge as a winner against other experts in that same category.
That's our baseline. That's what we use. So
I feel like you're in the United States. I feel like that is a baseline personally. But Peter, you've been so gracious with your time today. Good. It's always fun to talk to you and tap into your knowledge. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us today.
Absolutely. And we can't wait to see you in March at Pizza Expo.
I look forward to it. I call it our tribal gathering.
Yes, exacgly.
Family reunion. That's right.
It'll be a big one this year.
Thanks for putting it on every year and bringing people together. You basically are the host of the best party in town.
Hey, we'll take
awesome.
It.
We'll see you at that party. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
See you later.
See you soon.
Take care.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.